I was already playing music for a living, and I was doing what I wanted to do. And I was on the road, and I said, I want to be a rock and roll star. And I was a stupid kid. Didn't realize that rock and roll stars are only singers, not saxophone players. And when I finally realized that I was an ass, I went back to school. I got all my scholarships back. And I was able to get a full education at Berkeley, almost completely paid for. And I got the road out of my system. When I went into Berkeley to do my audition, right, the instructor said to me, well, you're kind of old for to come to school. What you been doing all this time, you know? I said, I've been playing with da-da-da. He said, oh, yeah? And then he said to me, he said, you've been playing with da-da-da. So why'd you come here? He said, well, I want to learn how to write music and compose music and work in the recording studio. I don't want to play gigs anymore because there's no real future in just being a sideman, you know. It's just like I'm on the gig, that's all I am. And so he said to me, cool, I understand you play. Can you give me the number of that gig? And he took the number of the gig from me, and 2 weeks later, he took my gig and split teaching in school. And I kicked myself in the ass and said, did I do the right thing? Should I have stayed on the road? Should I have kept my gig? And I really couldn't make up my mind, because I proved to me that if a Berkeley instructor or a professor already at the school thought my gig was so cool, and he took it, maybe I should have stayed there. This is in 1973. I was making $450 a week in 1973. Today, that would be like making $1,500 a week. So that's my story of the youth time. Okay. When I finally got out of Berkeley, after 4 years of school, my professor at the school got me a job in a recording studio, which is really what I wanted to do. So the job was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis, St. Paul is like frozen tundra. They kind of signed a contract for 5 years to do the gig, and I was doing commercials and stuff for television and radio. And I liked the gig, paid good money, but I couldn't hack Minneapolis. It was like living in the tundra, you know. When I decided that I was going to blow off the contract, I lasted 1.5 years, then I blew the contract off, and I went back out on the road. When I went back out on the road, I went on the road with Tavares. Tavares, at the time, had just had a big hit in 1979, 78, on the Saturday Night Fever album. And so I lasted on the road with them for 3.5 years. And then I decided I wanted to go back to playing jazz. And so I put together a local jazz group called 1 O'Clock Jump. And I did backups for all the big bands for 11 years on the road. I worked opposite Count Basie, Buddy Rich, Duke Ellington, and all the rest of them for 11 years on the road. In 1992, I decided that I was tired of living out of a suitcase. I took a job here at the university teaching and gave up the road for a long time, almost up. And so I decided to become a professor and teach music instead of living out of the suitcase. I'd already lived out of the suitcase for 15 years. Something you can't imagine.
Can't say living out of the suitcase for a week.
Go ahead, what's your next question?
What's the most controversial thing you've done?
The most controversial thing I've done? Wow, that's really tough. I don't know how to tell this to people, but I was playing a gig in Washington, D.C., right? And with the Drifters. And I was 17 or 18 years old. Somebody walked up to the stage and was a drunk and pushed themselves into my microphone and went into my horn, pushed my horn down the back of my throat. I grabbed the microphone stand and I hit him over the head with it. Put him in the hospital. They put me in jail. Dang. I'd say that's the most controversial thing I've ever done. I almost killed somebody.
That's pretty sweet. Going back to your youth and maybe like seeing your future, did you think it would pan out this way? Did you see it as it imagined? Did it happen that way?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I never thought I would make it past 28 years old. And I was saddened the day I did, because I wanted to die like Charlie Parker at 34. I figured that I'd go out in a blaze of glory. Fortunately, that never happened. Fortunately or unfortunately, I made it to such an age, right? And so I assumed that I would continue to be the rebel I was, and playing rhythm and blues, pop music, and family. And in reality, I realized that it wasn't as artistic as I thought it was. And that I really wanted to play jazz. That I really did love the music my relatives gave me, that I taught. And that I spent my whole life now making people aware of music as a historian and as a performer and player. And so I would have never suspected that I'd end up being a teacher. I thought I would have never left the road. So that surprises me, that I'm actually here at all.
Do you enjoy teaching?
I enjoy teaching. I never thought I would, actually, to tell you the truth. I started teaching privately first in a music studio, right? And then never really thought about teaching at a university or college level until I developed a sense of the history from my personal experience. And that's what prompted me. I think what really prompted me was that so many people know so little about my work. And that my object in life, teaching the course I teach you guys, is to really to get you to understand, how politics, society, and history are really interwoven with music. And that music is really an exemplification of all those things that society is really about. And both pop music and jazz and all kinds of music really has brought us all closer together. That before, we were all so separated racially, everything. And now I see a better understanding of why music has really brought us closer to each other. And I think, one of the things that changed my mind about hip hop was that it was attractive to people more than black people. And that it brought white people into listening to the music just like R&B did. And that I found exciting. And that's why I wanted to learn to produce it and actually work with people who were involved in that music, even though it wasn't a part of my tradition, because I felt that it did bring everybody closer, and it became a new means of reaching out to people politically and socially, rather than just being a bloody party music, which at first was, you know what I mean? It was just a party, it's a street party music when I first grew up. And I can remember when I saw the first of it in New York, when I was going through Harlem and the south of the Bronx region, it was just strictly a block party music. And man, when I heard the message, that was really the first thing that told me in 1982 that the world had changed and that rap had grown up into being something more than just a let's party music. And it really did have a meaning and a source to reach to more than just black people, but the whole world. That's why I incorporated it into the course and teach respectfully the music and its beginning. Because people need to hear how that music changed from being just a party music into a really political and social message to the world. And I think all music that does that is what really lasts the test of time. You know? Whether it's, you know, Marvin Gaye, you know, doing What's Going On, you know, or Jermaine Dupri doing What's Going On. Go ahead, what's your other question?